There's a prehistoric monster who came from outer space, created by the Martians to destroy the human race. The FBI is helpless, its 20 stories tall. What can we do? Who can we call? Call Tobor, the ape man. Call Tobor, the ape man.
In 1965, a popular Japanese anime TV show that was airing on the Tokyo Broadcasting System from 1963 to 1964 was brought to the United States by ABC Films. The show was edited, translated into English, and shown to American audiences for the very first time. That show was Eighth Man, also known as Tobor the Eighth Man. Gene Prinz and his team at Capri Films International produced and dubbed the cartoons in English in Miami. The vocal performers that were hired were thought to be lost to history, but have since been identified. They all turned out to be college students, as well as local actors from Miami's Little Theater. Tobor the Eighth Man was voiced by Jerry Burke, while Jenny, Skip, and Dr. Spectra were played by Sandy Warshaw, and also Chief Fumblethums was voiced by Bob Gaynor. The animation was primitive, but the storylines were exciting and fresh. The series, known simply as 8-Man in Japan, was originally taken from a manga comic created in 1963 by science fiction writer Kazumasa Hirai and manga artist Hiro Kawata. 8-Man is considered Japan's first superhero cyborg and was published in the Weekly Shonen magazine from 1963 to 1966. The intro and theme song to the US version were not from the original manga artists. Hal Seeger Productions, whose work included the animated Milton the Monster Show.
Hello, Dad. What have I done? I'm Milton, your brand new son.
Was contracted to do the opening title sequence and theme song. A very catchy song, by the way, that is fondly remembered by everyone who watched the series.
Call Tobor, the ape man. Call Tobor, the ape man.
The theme itself was composed by Winston Sharples, who scored more than 700 cartoons for Paramount and famous studios in his career. It's rumored that a young Ralph Bakshi may also have had a hand in developing the opening title sequence. Ruben Guberman, one of the voice actors and also a screenwriter for the show, came up with the plots and dialogue for each episode, as he had no translated scripts from Japan. He basically just winged it, removing portions of one episode and pulling scenes from another one to replace it. In the U.S. syndicated version, 8-Man became known as Eighth Man or, in some cases, Tobor the Eighth Man, Tobor being robot spelled backwards. The main character, Special Agent Peter Brady, was killed in the first episode, run down by a car driven by criminals that he was in a fierce gun battle with, led by the infamous criminal Saucer Lips. Lying dead in the street, a car pulls up and out comes a scientist named Professor Genius, who picks up the detective and takes him to his lab to try to save his life. We see Professor Genius at the lab attempting to transfer Agent Brady's mind into an android body that he created. Electricity is passed through Brady and the android body in a scene reminiscent of Frankenstein, until the android finally wakes up with Brady's mind and the Eighth Man is born. He's able to move at incredible speeds, can shapeshift into anyone he thinks of because of his plastic skin. He has super strength, hearing, and vision. He can also project scenes that he remembers onto a wall with beams of light from his eyes. Once he accepts his new body, he decides to take the shape of his former human self and goes back to work at his former police station. He keeps his android self a secret from everyone but his boss, Chief Tanaka, or Chief Fumblethums in the English version.
My secretary, Jenny, had known me only as Tobor the detective. All the time we had worked together. She has never known that I am really Eighth Man, a robot.
In Japan, the origin of the character is very different from the original manga to the TV show. The character's name doesn't change when he is reborn as 8-Man in the original Japanese manga and TV series, but only later in the live-action TV show. In the original manga, Detective Azuma is killed when he is locked in a warehouse and shot to death. The main character was also called 8-Man because he was an extra police officer. There are 7 official police precincts and 8-Man is treated as if he were the unofficial 8th Precinct. The Japanese manga was told as a series of novellas and as a group of standalone stories, many of them adapted for the TV show. They were originally printed in 16-page increments and were published on a weekly basis. 10 more one-shot stories were included as seasonal and holiday specials. These tales ran from 30 to 40 pages in length. In the English version of the series, the main character is named Tobor. He is also referred to as 8th Man, and he is Professor Genius' 8th attempt at creating a sentient android. A lot of the violence was toned down for the US show, as they were shooting for a wider audience. One of the major plot devices in the series was the use of energy cylinders to recharge 8th Man's energy when it was running low. These energy sticks resembled cigarettes, and it looked like 8th Man was smoking when he used one. 8th Man would suck on one of these energy sticks to renew his atomic powers, just like Popeye would gulp down a can of spinach.
Oh, you're trembling. Can you speak? Can you?
Must get that cigarette. Help me.
The cigarette? Of course I'll get it for you. If you must have it. There. I hope it makes you feel better. Oh.
In 1965, when the show was in syndication in the US, there was a major push against cigarette advertising, and television characters weren't allowed to be seen smoking anymore. The Federal Cigarette Labeling and Advertising Act of 1965 was passed by Congress, saying that all cigarette packages must have a warning label about the dangers of smoking. Because of this, even though the show was extremely popular in its afternoon time slot, it was forced to be removed from broadcast in the United States, ending what should have been a much longer run of this manga series. If you've made it this far and are new to the channel, consider hitting the subscribe button below. I'm closing in on 100,000 subscribers and would really appreciate your help in getting there. It would be great to see the 8th Man rebooted with today's animation and effects, but without the energy cigarettes. What do you guys think? Leave your thoughts in the comments below, and as always, this is Rich from Rerun Zone, signing off.
Tobor here. Yes, of course. Right away. And so, I had put myself at the service of law and order. Working closely with Chief Bumblethums of Metro International Crime Prevention, my life's work was cut out for me, and my adventures would prove to be more exciting than it is possible to imagine, as you shall see.